There's a huge misconception when it comes to James Gunn's movies. People seem to think that all he does is, comic book movie comedy and fun. That's not who James Gunn is at all. But ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, that's been the misconception. James Gunn does make funny, fun movies, partially, but he's also got a huge narrative heart within his writing and directing. There's a lot of heart within his movies, but he likes to take his characters on character evolutions, on journeys. He takes characters who maybe have done bad things, that are not perfect, and they learn a better way and they become better people. And that is what James Gunn is as a storyteller. So, I don't want to talk today about the criticism from Snyder fans or the criticism or the defense from Gun Bros. Today I want to discuss the criticism from people you would have expected to be supporting James Gunn's take on Superman. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. I'm Nick, your host with the most, just ask your girlfriends and your wives. You can follow me on X Twitter, please do, at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads, please do, at Movies TV Mad X, and on TikTok, Mad Mickey's World, and on Snapchat, BMouth60, Mick, your host with the most. A very warm welcome to Monday's edition of the DCU Daily. Yes, it's Monday. It's sunny. Let's hope it's warmer than last week. My throat is killing me, so if I lose my throat, I'm going to be the pro and keep on going. Right. Let's discuss the mixed response to the Superman test screenings. Let's discuss the mixed response at CinemaCon to that 5-minute Superman preview. But I'm not interested in the criticism from people that have no objectivity. There's no point talking about those people. Those people are angry. Those people are frustrated that Zack Snyder isn't writing and directing or directing DC movies. That Henry Cavill is no longer Superman. When you're angry, you have no objectivity. So there's no point in debating the anger from Snyder fans. Whether this film succeeds or not, Snyder fans are going to keep on shouting from the rooftops that Zack Snyder is the only director who should be making DC movies. I wholeheartedly disagree. As much as I love what Zack did, I would love him to be working in his own corner at DC Elseworlds, but I'm not about just one director making all movies. That's ridiculous. I want to see different directors with different aesthetics who present different tones, not just one director dominating film. That's an absolute ridiculous take. So let's discuss the mixed response from Access Media, from people who talk, pundits. It's very, very interesting what people are saying. Some people loved the test screenings, and some people didn't like the test screenings, and some people loved the 5-minute preview. I loved the 5-minute preview, but some people think it's utter trash or are concerned. Now, Doomcock, Doomcock, he's got his own YouTube channel. He's not exactly a guy that people listen to very much to respect, his movie opinions. But it's interesting what he was saying. He was saying he's a big supporter and fan of James Gunn, but he's very worried about this Superman film because his previews and teaser trailer have no fun within them. That's interesting, right? This fun thing. They want to go back to the aesthetic of 1978. No modern day writer-director is going to give you 2.5 hours of cheese. It ain't going to happen. You want to watch Superman 78, which isn't 2.5 hours of cheese, by the way. There's some comedic flair, but there's a serious through line about this character. It's one of the best origin movies ever made, as far as I'm concerned. But as I say, there's a misconception about James Gunn. They made the assumption that Gunn was just going to give them a dumb 2.5 hour smiley take on Superman. David Cronsworth's Superman hasn't smiled in the teaser trailer or in this 5-minute preview yet. Gunn has decided to show us his Superman in pain, under huge challenging situations, rather than showing us the fun side of this Superman, which I'm sure there is. There's also this misconception about Superman that he should always be this smiling hyena. Even Christopher Reeve's Superman didn't smile continuously for 2.5 hours and crack jokes and one-liners. So I don't know where this stupid misconception comes from. Also, after people saw Man of Steel in 2013, they said that Henry Cavill's Superman never smiled. He smiles quite often. In fact, the word hope is uttered quite a few times in Man of Steel. But Henry's Superman smiles. He smiles in the first flight sequence. He's excited and scared to be flying. He's never flown before, and he's smiling and he's laughing at the irony of being able to fly. It's beautiful. He smiles at Lois Lane. He smiles at his mother, Ma Kent, aka the brilliant Diane Lane, who may be the best Ma Kent ever to be in live action, in my opinion. So Henry Cavill's Superman does smile, but you can't be smiling for 2.5 hours. You can't have 2.5 hours of fluff. We are in 2025, and James Gunn was never giving you that Superman. So all these people who you would have thought would have been supporting James Gunn's take on Superman are suddenly asking the question, why? Why is it so grim? Why was the teaser so grim? I like grim. I'm okay with grim. I don't mind. I agree that he should be smiling now and again, and there should be maybe a little bit of humour. There's a little bit of humour in Man of Steel as well, but they don't go off on a tangent, right? There's got to be a serious take to any adaptation, to any drama. Even if you were adapting a normal wisdom biopic, there would have to be a serious through line to the man's life. But these people thought that James Gunn was going to give them 2.5 hours of he, joke, he. Early MCU wasn't even like that. Iron Man was a very serious film with some gags. Iron Man 2 was a very serious film with some gags. You know, etc., etc., etc. And it was like that through phase 1, phase 2, and even mostly phase 3. But there's this assumption about the MCU that it's just a silly comedy show with no serious narrative to it. Simply not true. And it's funny how people make these assumptions and these misconceptions and they go with them on social media, because with social media, Rod, Jane and Freddie will say one thing that they want to be true. So Rod will say, Superman is going to be the bestest billion-dollar movie ever. So that's fact to them now, right? Because they want something to happen. If they say it's going to happen, right? And Snyder fans will say, it's a crap movie, even though I haven't seen it, it's going to flop. You'll see, no Snyder, no money. It's a fact, because Freddie said it on social media. That's not how it works. There's no such thing as a universal opinion. Everyone has biases, including me. I don't have a universal correct opinion. I have a point of view. You have a point of view. And disagreeing on that point of view, as I keep on saying, isn't a call to war. But that's the problem with social media and people these days. It's the Rachel Zegler kind of school of villainy, isn't it? If you disagree, press unsubscribe, unfollow. I don't need your business. It's that mentality that's taken us to the culture we're in today. And it's a horrible, depressing, gloomy culture that I want nothing to do with, by the way. So these people made this assumption. These people who were going, yeah, James Gunn is not going to be like Zack Snyder. It's going to be bright and it's going to be funny. And, you know, it's just going to be a 2.5 hour comedy. Excuse me, I did warn you. But now, as I warned, I said this film will be a controversial take. What I've heard from test screening audiences, that actually he does change minimally some Superman law. We know how fans love Superman law or any law being changed. But Smallville changed a lot of the canon for the better. It was great that the Kryptonite followed Clark to Smallville, or didn't follow him, and it was a threat to Clark and it was giving human beings powers. And Clark had kind of these mutants to fight. It was great that Lex Luthor becomes friends with Clark Kent, and you see this journey of Clark and Lex slowly being enemies, but still having this kind of Magneto, Professor X kind of dynamic going forward. So that was all very, very interesting. That was a change of the canon. But sometimes changing canon isn't a bad thing. But going back to these access media types, these kind of I mean, I think Camp here is still behind what James Gunn is doing, but like what Doomcock was saying, like, oh, I thought this was going to be fun, I'm worried about this movie. You can't have a movie that's just fun. And James Gunn has never ever been about just writing fun and gags. It's a misconception. But it goes deeper than the misconception of James Gunn. It's the misconception of the character of Superman himself. And this is the misconception from people that Superman 1978 was just bright and funny and it didn't have any serious notes and he just laughed and he smiles for the entire movie. Yes, ma'am, yes. Let me get your cat from the tree. How many times have you heard Snyder fans say, well, I don't want my Superman saving cats from trees? Well, that was actually the Superman Zack Snyder was heading to. But Zack saw it that he had to earn the right to becoming that Superman. It's like Smallville. Clark has to earn the right to wear the costume, to become Superman. It's a rite of passage, and that's what Zack was trying to do. So it's okay for Superman to save cat from trees, but it's also okay for Superman not to smile, to be upset, to have challenges. And the thing is, he's so powerful. The way you give Superman challenges is you give him emotional obstacles, like they did on Smallville, and what they did in the Snyderverse as well. So I think this is Superman's biggest enemy, this misconception that it's jokey and fun and Americana and that's it. This is not what James Gunn is doing with this movie. He's giving commentary about patriotism and Superman's connection to patriotism. Should he be an American hero or should he be a global hero? Or even more, should he be a universal hero? I would say the latter. He was brought up in America, but that doesn't make him America's property, and he's not he's not an America first type of character. If that's what you believe, I believe, and again, it's not a universal opinion, but I believe, constructively, and it's just my opinion, that you're wrong. But as I say, there's so many misconceptions towards Superman. Anyone making a Superman movie has to face these BS criticisms. And all of a sudden, before anyone's seen a film, oh yeah, too serious. So this brings me to the main trailer. Excuse me again. This brings me to the main trailer on April the 18th, Superman Day, which I assume is when we're going to get this main trailer. What do I want? Number one, it has to be around 3 minutes. We haven't had enough footage, and we now need a 3-minute trailer. That's what I want to see. I would like there to be some laughs. I think there should be a balance to it. I think there should be humour, hope, but also some darkness and drama. Because it's clear James Gunn's Superman has a little bit of everything, right? It's obvious that James Gunn's Superman, from what I'm being told, is a big swing and an episodic kind of film. Now, some people have claimed that it doesn't have a plot or a story. That's very interesting. I find that very, very hard to believe. So that's the kind of thing. I want to see Superman flying. I want to see Lois and Clark. I want to see Superman and Lois together. I want to see some of the fight between this Ultraman character. But it's clear to me, as I said this at the very beginning, that we're going to see a multitude of versions of Superman. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned it on here, but I have mentioned it on X-Twitter, that I believe that maybe the Superman that falls into the Arctic floor might come from one of the pocket universes and isn't the main Superman. Last night, there were multiple reports that Superman gets a new costume from Jor-El at the end of this Superman movie. Maybe he doesn't get a new costume. Maybe the real Superman that we haven't seen in any of the trailers or the marketing yet is already wearing a kind of different type of costume. And these kind of pocket universes kind of Superman and the one that Lex Luthor has cloned, this Ultraman guy, are kind of wearing the baggier costume and kind of different ill-fitted costumes. Maybe that's it. Very, very interesting. So, look, this is not going to be the Superman that you Gunn fans maybe wanted, maybe imagined James Gunn making. That piques my interest because I find this Superman movie utterly fascinating. Will it be any good? Will I love it? Will I hate it? Will I think it will be mid? Will it succeed at the box office? Will it fail at the box office? Will it make mediocre box office? We just don't know. And that's what makes this situation so totally fascinating.